would like to apologize because I will be very shortly with you all because I am currently in a meeting with my French shareholder for an important preparation of our production plan for the future. So I will just participate at the beginning of this interesting webinar. So first of all, I welcome all the people participating to the meeting, and I would like to thank Kazakh Invest for accepting to participate to this meeting. I will not name the participants, as you will introduce yourself. So just enjoy the meeting for the participants and ask all the questions because, of course, for the CCFK, it's very important. We know that in the current circumstances that the country has experienced, which is more or less the same that all the countries over the planet have experienced in the past months. The situation is quite complicated, and of course, we are interested to hear from Kazakh Invest what you have to present to us, and probably you will be interested to hear from the members questions, and hopefully you will be able to provide us some answers. So thank you very much, and I leave the floor to
Sam. Yes, thank you, Gerard. So I think we can start. Dear participants of the webinar, as well as speakers, welcome to the webinar of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry France Kazakhstan, organized jointly with Kazakh Invest and dedicated to the investment potential of Kazakhstan and state support measures in current economic conditions. You can familiarize yourself with the webinar program in the conference chat. We have just published it in the conference chat, so you could follow the program. And before starting the webinar, I would like to remind you some rules of conducting a video conference in Zoom. First of all, I would like to ask all of you to turn off your microphones, as this can affect the quality of connection, as you see now. The microphone can only be turned on by the speaker who is currently speaking this topic. Secondly, you can ask your questions in the conference chat during the webinar and during the speaker's speeches, and this chat will be monitored by the moderator of the webinar, who will pass your question to the speaker. Please send your questions to the chat in the format speaker's name, to whom you're addressing the question, your name, company name, and the question itself. You can also announce your questions during the Q&A session just after all the presentations. And to start the webinar, I would like to pass the floor to the moderator of the webinar session, to Mr. Galimjan Mataev, Managing Director of Kazakh Invest, who will introduce the speakers and will moderate the webinar session. Mr. Galimjan Mataev, you have the floor.
Thank you. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Mataev Galimjan, and I'm Managing Director of the GSC National Company Kazakh Invest. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for today's event. On behalf of Kazakh Invest, let me thank you all for joining us today and express hope that you will find this informative and useful. I'd also like to thank our long-term partner, the France-Kazakhstan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for co-organizing the webinar. May I also welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Shinasil Yernazar, Vice President of GSC Kazakhstan Center for Public-Private Partnership, and thank him for his participation. To start, I would like to introduce our Deputy Chairman, Birjan Kaneshev, Deputy Chairman of Kazakh Invest, Birjan Kaneshev, with his welcome speech. Please, Mr. Kaneshev.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Birjan, I'm Deputy Chairman of Kazakh Invest. Nice to see you and hear you, all of you, our friends and colleagues. First of all, let me welcome the Chamber of Commerce, France, Kazakhstan Chamber of Commerce, another our event which we organize it together, and it's all our efforts aimed to help investors to be comfortable in Kazakhstan. During this challenging time, it's critically important to ensure maximum efforts in order to help projects to succeed. And we're doing a lot. And also, I want to inform you that company acting now as a single negotiator with foreign investors on behalf of the government of Kazakhstan. I hope many of you know what is Kazakh Invest. The company was created years ago. We're a young company, but for these 3 years, it's a lot of work has been done, and what we do now, we introduce the new law and legislation, and Kazakh Invest became the one-stop shop for investors, and we working very closely with all the investors coming to Kazakhstan, and we have all communication with them. We have our call center working 24/7, and many of you knows, I saw on the list of the company that we have at least few colleagues already, companies that had relationship with Kazakhstan, with Kazakh Invest. So our team constantly analyzing also the investment opportunities in Kazakhstan and introducing to you. We are spreading this information to our embassies and our representatives abroad. It's nice to see you. Dennis is a member of our board. Hi, Dennis. Yeah, nice to see you.
How are you? Yes, all
Are you
good.
healthy?
Yes, all good, all good.
Yeah. During today's conversation, my colleagues will present more details on all the directions of our job doing for the investors by the Kazakh Invest. And you know, the friends for Kazakhstan is one of the out of 5 main important partners for our economy. And for the 14 years of our cooperation, we have the numbers 16.1 billion direct investments came from France. So we're going to increase this number, definitely. So I would prefer to take any questions you have during this session, and I wish you good health, to stay healthy during this hard time. We are working with all the akimats locally. If you have any issues in our regions, we the one-stop shop. You can call our central office, and we can help you to solve all the issues you are meeting in our regions. As an example, I would say that during this COVID time, we helped many of the French companies. I would take as an example the Alstom. They started their operations at earliest time. We worked with Akimat of Nur-Sultan, and they one of the first plant starting operations in Nur-Sultan. And also we helped many companies to bring their equipments and to travel their specialists across the Kazakhstan during this quarantine time. We got a call yesterday, for example, from the Alstom as well. They having some problems in Almaty, and we are handling this issue, working to try to solve as soon as possible the issues raised by the investors. So I wish you again the good work during this session, and I'm ready to take the questions as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Mataev, could you please continue the session?
Now it's okay?
Yes,
sorry.
yes, now.
Sorry. Before we start, I have a few announcements to help to make your participation more productive. Today's webinar we are planning will last about 2 hours. It comprises about two presentations. Dear participants, if you do not mind, I would suggest that we first go through all the presentations and then start answering your questions. In this regard, you are kindly requested to write your questions in the chat box so that our speakers are able to see them and get prepared to answer by the end of the webinar. Please also do not forget to mention your name and organization, as well as the name of the speaker you wish to address your question. Or you can ask orally in the end of the session. We're done with the opening session. Let me call on Ms. Anara Mikibayeva, Country Manager of the Investment Attraction Department. She will deliver a speech on investment attraction system and relationship between Kazakhstan and France. Please.
Jamila, is the speaker online?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to call her. Wait a second. It may be some technical issues.
Maybe some
I'm
technical
sorry.
issues.
Very sorry for this.
It happens. Sorry, it happens sometimes, especially in the coronavirus period.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. She's on the line, but I think there are some maybe technical issues because we are trying to change it now. Just 3 minutes.
Sorry, we're trying to connect with her. One moment, please.
Анара, мы, к сожалению, вас не слышим. Может быть, попробуйте переподключиться?
Анара, мы не слышим действительно вас.
We are talking with her. She had some technical problems. One moment, please.
Вот видно, слышно?
Yeah.
Слышно,
Yeah,
видно,
Слышно,
вот я
слышно,
подключила.
слышно, да.
Yeah, we can
Вот,
start.
все, да.
Now it's good, yeah.
Okay.
Please, Anara.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Слышно, да, все?
Да-да.
Okay. Sorry for the technical side. I'm the country manager of several European countries, including France. And first of all, let me thank you all the members and the management of CCI France Kazakhstan and the service support department of Kazakhstan, especially for organizing this event dedicated to Kazakh-French mutual cooperation. Next slide, please. I have actually the information from CCI France Kazakhstan that the quantity of members is equal to more than 50 representatives of French companies. And most of the representatives are already acquainted with Kazakhstan due to ongoing business activities. But anyway, let's freshen up our memory, and I will briefly cover the advantage of our country just shortly, and Kazakh Invest range of services. So why Kazakhstan? Actually, 4 issues: strategic location, favorable business environment, investors' right protection, and investment incentives. All of this issue would be highlighted by me and by my colleagues further on. Next slide, please. The overall territory of Kazakhstan is equal to 2.7 million kilometers, and Kazakhstan has borders with 5 countries, as Russia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and China, and one of the biggest border with Russia Federation, which is equal to 7,000.6 kilometers, and the population is equal to 18 million of population. So on this slide, actually on the map, you can see that the advantage of the land roads through Kazakhstan than the sea roads. It takes by the land roads like 10 days instead of 45 or up to 16. Kazakhstan is a member of the Eurasian Economic Union and with preferential access to the market with 180 million consumers, and also access to the market with over 500 million consumers with Central Asian market, Western China, and Caspian Sea countries. Next slide, please. We are working on a 3-level system basis. So on external basis, we're working with embassies of Kazakhstan abroad, like more than 60 embassies, and with the representative of Kazakh Invest abroad. Actually, today we are having like 4 abroad representative offices in such countries as Netherlands, Germany, India, and Singapore. But we are planning also to open up in such countries as US, Turkey, UAE, and others. So on a central level, we are working with central governmental entities, with quasi-public entities, and representatives. On the regional level, we are working with local executive bodies and regional organizations. So in each region of Kazakhstan, we are having our representative offices. So it's not a question to organize a meeting, to meet the investor and to make a consultation or just recommendations in any region of Kazakhstan. So the main coordinator of Kazakh Invest is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan, and Kazakh Invest by itself is a working body. Next slide, please. Kazakh Invest range of services. We are actually as earlier have been said, single negotiator on behalf of the government. and a one-stop shop for investors in Kazakhstan. What it means briefly, there is no necessity to go to governmental offices and the private ones. It is better to come to Kazakh Invest because we are having the professional team of experts, and we can briefly operate and coordinate. I mean, in Nur-Sultan city and in any region of Kazakhstan. So we are having also, as I have said earlier, a network of representatives. So what we can present a full support of investment projects from the initial idea to implementation, individual approach to each project, a recommendation and preliminary consultation, meeting and side events, side visits, post-investment support, and 24/7 investors hotline. Next slide, please. Actually, on behalf of being the country manager of some European countries and especially of France, I would highlight the main issues on investment cooperation between our country. And on this slide, you can see on the left side the economic diagram. And France actually takes the 6th place in terms of investment in the economy of Kazakhstan as of 2019. But if to take the statistics from 2005, the France is on the 5th place. Today, like actually as of February 1, Kazakhstan has 170 enterprises with French capital. On the right side of the slide, you can kindly see the positive dynamic. And for example, the volume of French investment in Kazakhstan economy is equal to $1 billion in comparison with the 2018. In 2019, it is equal to $1 billion. And I mean, further on, I would like tell about tell more about this 1 billion and what kind of projects. Next slide, please. Telling about the trade and economic relations, so the turnover between Kazakhstan and France in 2019 is equal to 4 billion. If just to say on the main exported goods from Kazakhstan to France, so France is exporting like oil, uran, copper, and hydrogen, like chemical, yes. And if to the main imported goods in Kazakhstan from France are the aircrafts, medicine, carbon electrodes, chemical, and vaccine. And from the imported goods, I mean table, we can see that France is strong in such sectors of economy as machinery, medicine, energy, chemistry, pharmacy, and others. Next slide, please. Actually, current joint investment projects. We have more than 36 projects, but we are having like on the current basis, we are monitoring the 36 projects, and they are divided on implemented ones, the 16, which is equal to $1 billion. On implemented stage, we are having like 7 projects, and on the perspective ones, we are having like 13 projects, which is equal to $605 million. If just to see on the right side of the table, you can see like the project by sectors of economy, and we can kindly see that 9% is equal to construction sector, and 4% to energy, 2% like in mining. Today also you will listen up to our professional team, and they will cover all the sector of economy separately after me. So actually, I hope that the quantity of Kazakh-French investment projects will grow, and we are inviting you kindly to Kazakh Invest to prolong our mutual and fruitful cooperation. Actually, I want to say that just recently we have made the roadmap of France and Kazakhstan projects, and the quantity is equal up to 44 projects. They would be, I hope, implemented till 2030. We are inviting you to come to Kazakh Invest, we kindly will give you, will reply to all your questions concerning our mutual projects. That's all from my side, and I will kindly give the floor to Managing Director Ulbusin Sarabayeva, who would highlight the topic of project activity of the company. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anar.
Thank you, Anara. Thank you, Gamjan. Dear colleagues, let me welcome you and express my gratitude for the opportunity to present different sectors of Kazakhstan for investment. And in addition to what has been said, let me again to point out that we provide a full range of services to foreign companies and the individuals interested in developing a business in Kazakhstan, including the following main areas, such as first, the identification and the preparing new investment proposals according to international standards and the search for local partners. The second is comprehensive support of projects from the idea to full commissioning. And third, after-sales service for both existing and potential investors. In all these areas, our colleagues will speak in detail a bit later. However, let me dwell on some of them. Given the potential of priority areas of economy, annually Kazakh Invest, together with the state bodies and the local authorities, conducts works to search and select niche projects among local business for further offers to investors. With the involvement of reputable consulting agencies such as Deloitte and PwC, selected niche projects are packaged according to international standards. Packaging includes the development of a business plan, financial model, and teaser containing complete information on the project and the field. Today we have about 120 packaged projects in different sectors. And at the same time, I want to emphasize that during the selection projects, we are guided by two main principles. The first is an active local partner, and the second is the economic attractiveness of the project. Thus, almost all niche projects have a potential Kazakh partner. In addition to this, I would like to add that there are agreements with a number of financial institutions that are ready to provide assistance in financing. Having a ready-made list of investment proposals removes all questions from investor sides in which industries and regions to invest in Kazakhstan. And after investor makes a decision on investing, we include the projects in our main pipeline, which are constantly monitored by the government. In general, all projects are our main activity, since the successful implementation of the investment projects is the main message that gives a signal to investors about the quality of investment climate and the conditions for working in the country. Today, Kazakh Invest supports 186 projects with the participation of foreign investors for a total of $46 billion. And here, let me give some examples how we helped our investors. For instance, the projects for the production of animal feed with the participation of a large Arab company. For a certain time, there was an issue with providing electricity power lines necessary to launch the project. And as a result, through negotiations with the Ministries of Economy and Finance, local authorities of Almaty region, as well as raising the issue on the level of government leadership, we were able to solve that problem. Another project is a production of French fries with the participation of a Dutch company. And it should be noted here that the project involves the cultivation of a certain variety of potatoes in compliance with the special technologies. And given that a foreign company cannot own agricultural land, the importance of having a stable Kazakh partner is critical, is crucial for the project. So in this regard, it was decided to quickly find a stable local partner. And as a result, in October of last year, as a part of the Prime Minister's visit to the Netherlands, an agreement was signed on establishment of a joint venture between Dutch and Kazakh company. And currently we are providing support regarding to the financing of the project. So it was in short how we prepare investment proposals and subsequently accompany our investors. And now let me pass the floor to our experts who will talk about the advantages of the main sectors of the economy. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sarbaeva. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. Our next speaker is Ms. Taule Saber. She's a project manager in Kazakh Invest and an expert in the agriculture sector. In her presentation, she will touch open about the main niches in agriculture: dairy, meat, deep processing of grain, oilseeds, fruits, and vegetables. The floor is yours, Ms. Saber.
Oui, bonjour, chers collègues de Chambre de commerce, chers collègues de l'ambassade, chers collègues de Kazakh Invest. Je suis responsable de la secteur agricole au Kazakh Invest. Alors, commençons, je tâcherai de présenter ma présentation en bref. Oui. Slide, пожалуйста. Second slide. Agriculture and food industry are among the most important sectors of Kazakhstan economy, providing around 5% of the gross domestic output. Over the past years, the volume of consumption of agriculture products and food products in Kazakhstan has shown high yearly growth rates. At the same time, agriculture sector in the country is characterized by high import dependence and low-level products processing, which shows the existence of significant potential for development. And among the comparative advantages of agriculture of Kazakhstan are sufficiency of land, pastures, and areas anti-cultivation. And I mean, over 80% of the land, or more than 210 million hectares, is used for agriculture purpose. And you see 180 million hectares allocated for pastures. Next slide, Jamila, please. After analyzing our advantages, we identified several of the most promising areas. The promising subsectors of our agriculture sectors include production and processing of meat and milk, production and processing of fruit and vegetables, including greenhouse vegetables, processing of oilseed and grains, as well as the production of organic products, which every year becomes more popular in the region and over the world. Next slide, Jamila. And my preferred direction is dairy production. Yes, there is also potential for dairy production. On average, about 5 million tons of raw milk is produced annually in Kazakhstan, but this is enough to ensure the domestic market and access to export markets. Minagri today elaborated dairy farming development programs for 2020 and 2024. It's planning to carry out the construction of family and industrial type of dairy farms. Last year, the ministry also supported the initiative of French company, you know, Danone and Lactalis, create a school for farmers for training dairy producers in Kazakhstan with the organization of 4 workshops with the invitation of French experts. And in addition, the recent opening of the Chinese market for the export of Kazakhstan's milk and dairy. Today, Kazakhstan can export dairy production to China. China imports about 2 million tons of milk and dairy products annually. Second slide, Jamila. And regarding grain crops, you know, Kazakhstan is major producer of grain crops and flour. Annual grain production averages 19 million tons per year. Flour 3.8 million tons. Yes, high potential exists precisely in the deep processing of grain with production of gluten, starch, molasses. And today in Kazakhstan, there are several large industries where these products are used, but moreover, these products are in the great demand in foreign markets. And there is everything necessary to create a production for deep processing of grain in Kazakhstan. And there are, you know, you have raw materials based market and government support measures, and including soft loans. Next slide. And regarding oilseed, another major export destination in the production and the processing of oilseeds, today's state diversification policies culturally focus on oilseed. Currently, the sown area for oilseed is 2.3 hectares, while is planned to increase in the coming years to 3.2 million hectares. Today, Kazakhstan has a competence to grow sunflower, safflower, rapeseed, flax, and soy. But I want to note Kazakhstan today for the first time took first place in the world in the production of flax, bringing its volume to 930,000 tons. And the main country where Kazakhstan export is Belgium. Next slide. And meat production, yes. As one of the key drivers of the agro-industrial complex is meat production. And you have today Minagri elaborated livestock development program. And this program has been developed until 2027. And according to which the number of beef cattle is expected to be increased to 15 million heads, and the number of small cattle to 30 million heads. And this will increase exports by type of meat, lamb up to 500,000 tons of meat per year, beef up to 1 million tons per year. And you have also the long-term development program for beef cattle breeding. It envisages the creation of 80,000 family farms and beef cattle and sheep breeding over 10 years. And which will work in cooperation with feedlots at meat processing plants. It should be noted that Kazakhstan has the official status of the International Epizootic Bureau of Paris, yes, of the country of the prosperous zone of food and mouse diseases. Next slide. Next slide, Sumila. Yes. Today, Kazakhstan also has a big potential to produce pork, and we can produce up to 200,000 tons per year. In 2019, Kazakhstan received the status of historically prosperous country of African swine fever. And it should be noted that many farmers in Kazakhstan use French Couperel genetics, you know, at a big company in France, Couperel. The company started local pig farms last year. This workshop was organized by Kazakh Invest and Ministry of Agriculture. And we know the Agriculture Research Institute and the Ministry of Agriculture today is collaborating with the French Genetic Center Evolution. Together, we visited the center with Kazakh colleagues in the frame of exposition in Rennes last year. And regarding poultry, last year we began to work on a project to produce foie gras with a Kazakhstan partner by Cirque Agro and the French company Lost. J'espère que ce projet réalise. Oui, next slide. Regarding the fruit and vegetables, the consumption in Kazakhstan of fresh and processing fruits is more than 900,000 tons, and of which the share of domestic production is about 50%. The export potential to the EU countries is more than 1 million tons. And at the same time, there are reserves for creating gardens on 47,000 hectares, and which will attract about $30.5 billion of investment in the industry. Greenhouse vegetables during the off-season are in demand not only in domestic market, but also in external ones. Therefore, only Russia on average imports 700,000 tons of greenhouse vegetable annually. Currently, more than 500,000 are available for growing fruits and vegetables. And in addition, the area of irrigated land with a water management infrastructure of 1.5 million hectares will be increasing to 2 million hectares by 2022. And in the second slide, next slide. In this slide, you see some agreed veterinary certificate and phytosanitary protocols between Kazakhstan and other countries. For example, the Chinese market today is open for Kazakhstan. We can export mutton, beef, pork, wool, fish, honey, dairy products, as well as with soybeans, alfalfa, rapeseed, meal, barley, corn, flax seeds, and various deliveries of meat and meat products, chicken, eggs, poultry, and other products to the Gulf countries were removed. Next slide. And this slide, I try briefly tell about two national institutions supporting this industry. He works under the ministry, Minagri. This is scientific and educational center, which is a single operator of interaction between scientific and educational institutions of the agri sector of Kazakhstan with the state and business. On the basis of the center, experimental farms are created for testing and introducing new technologies, conducting domestic and foreign research, and development for the development of the agriculture sector. We have a big holding Kazagro. Kazagro is operator of the implementation of the most important strategic agriculture products, as well as providing financial support tools in the form of leasing, soft loans to agriculture enterprises. Thus, in order to stimulate the inflow of investment into the industry, as well as to reduce the capital intensity and payback periods of projects, Minagri is implementing a measure of reimburse 25% investment is in priority areas of agri-industrial complex. At the same time, you have special tax and custom regimes. Next slide. Jamila. Today, with Minagri, we have Minagri has 39 investment passport for the construction, expansion of production, and acquisition of machinery and equipment were signed by order of ministry. And what is it? These passports provide for reimbursement of 20 to 50% of investment. In this slide, you can see we have some subsidies for plant growing, for harvesting seeds, for priority crop production, for water, for fertilizers, for fuel, and for chemicals. And next slide. And this slide, I would like to mention the ready-made investment offers in various areas of agriculture sector. Ulbusin has said, and okay, today, так, это надо, Жамиля, ты перепутала немножко, ладно, оставляем. It is like I would like to mention, the ready-made investment offers in various areas of the agriculture sector for which there are business plans and financial models. And today, about 40 ready-made investment proposals in the agriculture sectors are presented. And 2019, we have 20 investment proposals. And in general, Kazakh Invest, in accordance with our mandate, is ready to provide assistance from the idea to the full commissioning. So, and Monsieur, Madame, je voudrais ajouter que cette année, nous travaillons sur un projet d'élevage de chèvres alpines dans la région d'Almaty avec une entreprise française, DEAS. Oui, et encore en plus, nous voudrions réaliser un projet avec la compagnie Merial. Oui, je voudrais que ce projet réalise. Et à la fin, je voudrais vous remercier de votre attention et je vous souhaite bon succès et bien sûr bonne santé. Merci bien.
Thank you, Ms. Saber.
Merci beaucoup, Saoulé, pour votre français aussi. Merci.
Oui, merci bien. Mais pour moi, le plus mieux de parler français, mais parce que mes collègues ne comprennent pas, aujourd'hui, je suis obligée de parler anglais. C'est comme ça.
D'accord. On se verra pour parler aussi en français entre les deux. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Jamila, continue.
Thank you. Dear participants, should you have any questions to Ms. Saber, please do not forget to write them in the chat box or ask in person at the end of the webinar. Now I'm happy to give the floor to Ms. Aliya Salimjoarova. She also occupies the position of project manager, but she's specialized in the energy sector. She will provide us with an overview of the industry and investment opportunities. Please.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to have you today with us. I'm Aliya Salimjoarova and I'm responsible for power sector at Kazakh Invest. And today I want to give an overview of the sector and that I'm in charge of, and to discuss with you the investment opportunities. I would be glad to hear your questions afterwards, and I would greatly appreciate your feedback. Can we have a next slide, please? So, power system of the Republic of Kazakhstan traditionally divided into 3 zones, which are northern, southern, and western zones. The total installed capacity as of 1st of January 2020 is 22.9 gigawatt, and available capacity is 19.3 gigawatt. In accordance with the data provided by Kazakhstan Electricity Grid Operator Company, as of 1st of January, energy production reached 106 billion kilowatt hours, while energy consumption was at the point of 105 billion kilowatt hours. In 2019, the main demand for electricity in the Republic of Kazakhstan was covered by traditional thermal power plants, which accounted for 81% of the total generation in the country. Hydroelectric power stations in the country in 2019 accounted for 9.4%, and gas turbine power plants provided almost 9.9% of the total electricity generation. Next slide, please. Now, I would suggest discussing the changes that happened in our legislation in 2019 and 2020. First, starting from January 1st, 2019, the capacity market was introduced in Kazakhstan. The first auction was held on December 5th, 2018. So what it gives, a single buyer purchases services to maintain the readiness of electric power and provides centralized services to ensure the readiness of electric power to be as a load. Consumers pay for the services at the same average price for all. Thus, the capacity market will allow distributing expenses evenly among all consumers of the country. The feed-in tariff, according to the last auction held in November 2019, was at the level of 590,000 tenge per 1 megawatt, or 1,415 USD dollars. According to the forecast of power and capacity balance for 2020-2026, there is a significant electricity surplus in the northern zone, which covers the electricity shortage in the southern zone. In addition, there is a slight surplus in the western zone. So what are perspectives for further development of power sector? And what actually the investment opportunities? First of all, it's a modernization of generating equipment of existing stations. There is a significant depreciation of generating equipment of existing power plants. Therefore, it is important to develop measures for modernization of equipment and heat supply system in the cities. The average age of power plants equipment in Kazakhstan at the end of 2019 was almost 33 years. Over the previous 5 years, it had been increased for 3 years. Currently, we are suggesting developing a mechanism for increasing the rate of return for energy producing companies up to 12%. Second point, to develop the maneuver capacity to cover peak loads at the balancing of electricity supply. Currently, Ministry of Energy is at the stage of legislation amendment, and as soon as it would be approved, a gradual development of maneuver capacity is expected. Third, the development of energy efficiency and energy saving program. Thermal power plants have a very high consumption of electricity and heat for their own needs. which greatly affect the cost of electricity and heat. Therefore, we see the investment potential in the area of technology transfer in the field of energy efficiency. Next slide, please. And of course, there is a great potential for development of renewable energy sources in Kazakhstan. There is a concept for Kazakhstan tradition of green economy that was approved in 2013. So it suggests the following indicators of renewable energy sources development: 3% by 2020, 6% by 2025, and 10% for 2030. To mention, renewable energy sources mechanism went through rapid changes, which was accompanied by significant improvement of legislative framework. In the period of 2014 and 2017, the country had fixed tariff, which were replaced by auction bidding mechanism with an introduction of auction with ready-made project documentation in 2019. By the end of 2019, there were 90 renewable energy facilities in the country. Today is more than 97. In 2020, the number of renewable energy facilities will reach 108. In 2021, it is expected that the number of energy facilities will reach 119. The total installed capacity of renewable energy facilities was more than 1 gigawatt. It should be noted that up to date, 406 billion of investment have been attracted to the renewable energy sector. It is planned to pay about 81 billion tenge of taxes from renewable energy. And more than 900 permanent job places have been created. To mention, through 2018 and 2019, 138 companies from 12 countries participated in the auctions. Kazakhstan has a great potential for the development of renewable energy sources. And it's, of course, one of the main reasons why it is a great investment opportunity. Next slide, please. So why investors should participate in renewable energy sources auctions? What are the reasons? Mainly, it's a state support, which, among other things, ensures the conclusion of long-term contract for the purchase of electricity for 15 years, as well as the provision of investment preferences. Power purchase agreement concluded with the auction winner for a period of 15 years from the date of commissioning of renewable energy facility, at the auction price with annual tariff indexation after a year of operation of the station. The current formula is following the exchange rate of the national currency to convertible currencies by 70% and to the consumer price index by 30%. This formula aimed at reducing the risk of investors when the exchange rate of national currency changes. Moreover, the auction winner is awarded by priority dispatch and exemption from payment for services of electric grid companies. Recently, renewable energy sector was included in the list of priority activities, which entitles the company implementing the projects in the field of renewable energy to almost all types of preferences, including tax funds. My colleague will tell you about all these tax preferences a little bit later. But now I would like just to mention the package of preferences provided includes, first of all, exemption from custom duties, second, state-in-kind grants, third, tax preferences, for the creation of new production facility, CPN for 10 years, land tax for 10 years, and property tax for 8 years. Next slide, please. Also, I would like to note that a relatively new direction for our company is the disposal of solid household waste, or so-called waste to energy, with the generation of electricity. Currently, the legislative framework for the development of this mechanism is being formed. In turn, We are, as Kazakh Invest, actively working in this field, and we are currently considering different types of technological solutions for these waste-to-energy plants. The aim of the project is to construct up to 6 waste-to-energy plants in the main cities as Nur-Sultan, Almaty, Shymkent, and other cities Taras, Atyrau, and Aktobe, for municipal solid waste incineration with electricity generation. Total annual capacity of plants is approximately 1.3 million tons of waste. It is a new project for the country and for the region as a whole. So it's a completely new concept of waste, which is formed now. So to ensure the investment attractiveness of the sector, the state is considering favorable amendments to legislation, which is going to be completed, we expect, at the end of September or the beginning of October. The state will initiate an auction mechanism to select a strategic investor, and the auction winner will sign a power purchase agreement to supply the electricity generated from the waste to the grid at a special green feed-in tariff. The Ministry of Ecology will set up a tariff value, and the auction participants will submit bids based on their proposed tariff. To mention, the state will also ensure the stable supply of municipal solid waste to the plants. So there was a short overview about the power sector of Kazakh Invest. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I will be glad to hear your questions and comments afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alia. Dear participants, please welcome our next speaker, our next project manager, Ms. Dilara Tiktigulova.
Excuse me, Mr. Galmjan, for interrupting you. Can I ask a question? Of course, I will introduce myself to Madame Alia, if you don't mind. It was very interesting presentation. My name is Taras Kondratenko. I'm from Air Liquide entity in Kazakhstan. So before this discussion, we discussed with our head, Mr. Mathieu, and actually he had some question to the power sector, which can I put please forward? So he was asking, are there any support initiatives, not only for producers, but for consumers of energy to go green? I mean, to consume energy from renewable sources, alternative sources. So maybe we will not start discussion now, but just to exchange our contacts, if you don't mind, and we'll discuss it later on, not to waste the time of other participants.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kondratenko, for your question. Okay. Actually, yes, there is a investment support in case you are going to include to your actual, let's say, activity, the green facilities, or you are going to construct green facility to supply the electricity. And we, of course, can discuss all these issues. Please write me an email, or we can exchange the contact details that we could discuss it further on. I suppose this will take time, and I just do not want to interrupt my colleagues, but I would definitely be glad to discuss with you this afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much in respect, and could you please send the email or I don't know, any kind of contact? I'll write it down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will send you via chat right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for interruption once again. Please, Mr. Golan, continue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for understanding. We have just 2 hours. That's why we have a big program. We have a lot of speakers. Again, thank you so much, Alia, for that interesting information. Dear participants, please welcome our next project manager, Ms. Dilara Tiktigulova. She will provide us with an overview of the existing investment opportunities in the mining and metallurgical complex. Please.
Good day, dear ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to briefly talk about mining and metallurgy industry of Kazakhstan. For our country, mining and metallurgy plays an important strategic role. In general, Kazakhstan ranks 6th in the world for natural resources and 10th for the volume of mineral resources, excluding oil and gas. Next slide, please. In general, we believe that prospects and opportunities of mining and metallurgy are related to the following. First is exploration of new prospective areas which have not been explored before or explored to limited extent. To stimulate this, the government of Kazakhstan adopted new mining code. Second is the development of deposits for which exploration and mining licenses have already been distributed, so-called secondary market. Kazakhstan has a number of investment projects to propose for foreign investors. Third is application of new efficient methods for ore processing and metal producing to the previously explored deposits in order to increase their productivity. In fact, in Kazakhstan, we have a number of deposits that have unique composition of ores, and that's why in order to increase their productivity and make the development of these deposits more economically feasible, new technologies are required. In this regard, we welcome French and other investors with rich expertise to participate in these investment projects. Fourth is the development of deposits in the areas where infrastructure has been recently built and development. In fact, starting from 1990s, more than 2,000 kilometers of railroads were built in Kazakhstan. This opened up new opportunities and more deposits have become more feasible to develop. Fifth is development of further conversions of metal processing. Today, main strategic task of Kazakhstan is maximize processing of metals in Kazakhstan within the country. In this regard, ferrous and non-ferrous metallurgy is identified as priority sectors. Having said that, priority sectors are given state support in the forms of investment incentives, so-called preferences, that include tax preferences, tax holidays, exemption from customs duties, and many others that my colleague Alida will in detail discuss with you. And an important, next slide please, an important initiative I should highlight in Kazakhstan was the adoption of new mining code, which acts in accordance with the best world practice, Australian model in mining sector. The measures were taken to shorten the time for granting licenses for subsoil and subsoil use rights for solid minerals from 18 months to only 10 days. Conceptual innovations of mining code include principles of first come, first serve. Second is the open access to geological information, reduction of administrative barriers, transition to international valuation standard, CRISCO, as well as full compliance with the requirements and taken obligations. Next slide, please. With the purpose of promoting investment proposals effectively, Kazakh Invest is cooperating with Big Four consulting companies to prepare qualitative project documentation in accordance with international standards. Having analyzed a number of projects, we have identified more than 40 promising projects on mining and metallurgy with total cost of more than $9 billion US. The aim is actually to match these investment opportunities with suitable foreign investors. These information teasers on these projects are available on our website, and any investor can consider them. If there is any interest from investors, we will arrange direct negotiations with project owners. I'd like to mention availability of energy metals in Kazakhstan, specifically because we had some requests from French companies. In fact, we have significant reserves of nickel in Kazakhstan. About 10% of world reserves in Kazakhstan. Some of nickel deposits contain cobalt with the ratio that is favorable for extraction. Although nickel content is comparatively low in the ores, which is about 0.7 to 1.2%, we welcome new technologies to be applied in these deposits, such as fluoride leaching and autoclave leaching. Some deposits are already using in situ leaching technology in the deposits. Another metal which can be applied in production of batteries, rechargeable batteries and redox batteries is vanadium. We have also significant deposits of vanadium and have already refining facilities. In order to increase the production of these deposits, in order to increase the production in these deposits, we have to use unconventional technologies because they are unconventional ore composition. Also, I'd like to briefly mention availability of lithium reserves in Kazakhstan, which are mainly concentrated in the tailings of rare metal fields in East Kazakhstan. Full research on this exact lithium reserves have not been yet performed in Kazakhstan, and it's a new opportunity, new direction for investors. Rock containing lithium and brine deposits are also available, but also requires additional exploration works. Well, in general, we have a lot of opportunities on copper, gold, and many other metals. And I believe that every investor can find interesting project. Overall, these were the highlights I wanted to draw your attention on. If you have any questions, please, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dilara, for the very interesting information. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are moving to the next subject of our webinar related to the government support for investment activity, let me please call on Alida Tuibekova, Head of Service Support Team. In her presentation, she will touch upon the special role of service support, the scope of preferences, investment support instruments, and other aspects of the government support in this area. Please welcome Ms. Tuibekova. Sorry?
Thank you for this presentation and a few words about me. Yes, by way of introduction, I'm Alida Tuibekova. I'm head of service support team in Kazakh Invest. And feel free just to ask your questions after my presentation, and feel free to contact us afterwards. And first of all, next slide, please, Jamila. First of all, when we begin any presentation on government support, usually I put a huge spotlight on the government support of business activities in Kazakhstan. Why I'm giving this huge, big highlight? Because sometimes investors and other entities, other individuals, they're confusing with the state support instruments, and they're asking us, Kazakh Invest and Foreign Ministry, for the state support instruments of other operators. That's why, please keep in mind, there are 4 main areas of business activity which is supported by the government of Kazakhstan. First of all, the government supports small and medium business through such operator as Damu and Tatamiken. So all small and medium entrepreneurs can get the support and technical assistance, information, consulting in Damoy Atomiken. There are state operators for them. The government specifically supports agro-industrial sector. And for the agro-industrial sector, a state operator, Kazakhstan, is existing, and Kazakhstan is very active for supporting agricultural business. And they're providing state support instruments for this area, and they're very open for new projects in this sector. The government specifically supports industrial innovation activities. For this purpose, a state operator Kazindustry is working, and they are our good colleagues. And please keep in mind that expert support and special economic zone support are available in Kazindustry. And as to the Kazakh Invest is a specifically created investment promotion agency for the support of investor investments. And unlike other state operators, we are operating only with the investment preferences. Unlike, for example, in Kazakhstan, agro-industrial sector, agro-industrial business entities can get subsidies, purchase, technical facilities, and small and medium business can get a lot of financial support. But as to the investors, only investment incentives or investment preferences, instead we're using more word preferences, are available for investors. Next slide, please, Jamilia. And you know that like all other investment promotion agencies in the world, Kazakh Invest has a dedicated service support department. And this service support department is engaged in three main areas, three main activities. It's facilitation and aftercare, one-stop shop, investment ombudsman. So what is the specific feature of Kazakh Invest compared to other state operators? Only in Kazakh Invest, an investor can get assistance with the bureaucracy. For example, assistance with the visa issues, work permits, licensing, company registration. Only in Kazakh Invest, an investor can get support at the overseas level and at the regional level, because we have overseas representatives and regional representatives. And the whole support and facilitation from Kazakh Invest is legally provided, because we have a legally, because the Institute of Investment Ombudsman and One-Stop Shop are provided in our entrepreneurial or business code. So these are three main directions or three main activities of service support of Kazakh Invest: facilitation and aftercare, one-stop shop, investment ombudsman. And we have a hotline. We have a hotline where any investor can get free legal consulting in three languages: Russian, English, and Kazakh. And as to the one-stop shop, I think it's a well-known term, and I do not have just to explain this. So when we say one-stop shop, we mean access to the full spectrum estate services. So when investor is approached to Kazakh Invest and asking for the help to get any services, we are providing, we are like a window, one window, where access to whole spectrum of state services, public services. And as to the investment ombudsman, also it's a well-known, so it's protection of investors' rights, and it's a mechanism of investor-state disputes. Next slide, please, Jamilia. And I'm not going just to concentrate on this, and just a few words about legal definition. In order to avoid any misconception or misunderstanding with the world term investments, we usually highlight and we emphasize that when we say investments which are supported by us, we mean contribution into the fixed assets, not into the securities, because any contribution into the securities is regulated by the law on securities, and it doesn't relate to our activity at all. We are providing support to investments into the fixed assets. And in Kazakh, under the Kazakhstani legislation, investments shall mean any types of property, even financial leasing items, and which are contributed into the fixed assets, and or used for the increase of the fixed assets. And investors, please, also it should be noted that there are no categorization, any division between foreign and local. The investor for us, any business entity or individual, Kazakh or foreign one. Next slide, please, Jamila. And just few words that we usually, it's very important to know that under the Kazakhstani legislation, there is a division between investors and major investors. A major investor shall mean any individual or legal entity making investments amount approximately at least $13,500 million. And it's provided in the business code or entrepreneurial code, and it's very important for us just to keep it. Next slide, please, Jamila. And a few words about foreign restriction of foreign ownership. You know, Kazakhstan is an open country, and we do not have any limits on foreign participation ownership, but we have a very, limited list of restriction on foreign ownership. First of all, it's prohibited for, first prohibition relates to mass media. Foreign business entities and individuals are allowed to own or just to hold not more than 20% of shareholding. And also the second main restriction is telecommunications. We have a specific restriction in telecommunication sphere. For example, foreigners and foreign legal entities and individuals are not allowed to manage or use trunk communication license without setting up a legal entity in the territory of our country. It's forbidden to set up an operating communication system with the remote control center beyond its borders. Next slide, please, Jamila. Jamila. And individuals and legal entities are not allowed to have and hold more than 10% of voting shares in an organization which owns and manages operates communication lines as national international carrier without consent of the authorized state body in the sphere of communication and information and national security agency. And the last one, it's not allowed to foreigners to have and held directly and indirectly more than 49% of shares, participatory interest and contribution shares of a legal entity operating in the telecommunication sphere as the national or international carrier, which owns land, communication lines, subject to approval of government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Please keep in mind, before it was a total prohibition. Now, it's like restricted prohibition because it's always subject to approval of government, subject to the consent. But before it was a total prohibition. So we're proving we're making progress in the sphere. We make it more open, the telecommunication market. Next slide, please, Jamila. And please see the investment incentive, which are available for investors. And these investment incentive or preferences, in Russian we use the word preferences, they are available for investors, first of all, who seek the investment, who seek the project in prioritized business sectors. You know, in any country, like other countries, Kazakhstan prioritized business sectors for investment incentives. And all these priority business sectors are listed in the decree number 13, dated 14 January 2016. It's like, I can say it's like, this decree is like a Bible for our project managers and investors. And you, in this, and that decree, you can see the prioritized business sectors. So if investor is seeking to investment incentive, first, its project should fall under the prioritized business sectors. Second one, an investor should fit the criteria requirements set by laws. And the third one, the investor should apply for investment incentives. Please see the incentives which are available for investors. First of all, the incentives are given to three kinds of projects. It's investment project, investment priority project, and special investment project. So as to the investment project, in order to get, as to the investment project, under this project, the VAT-free input is available, and also customs duty-free import or duty-free import is also available, as well as state income grant. And so you see, for this project, only 3 incentives are available: VAT-free import, duty-free import, state income grants. When we say VAT-free import, please keep in mind, it sounds very attractive, but in fact, it's very restricted, because VAT-free import is available only for the restricted list of items, which are set out in the specific order of the minister. And as to the duty-free import, it relates to import of equipment, accessories, and spare parts, as well as raw materials. But all these 4 components should be integral parts of one technological process. And the duration of this incentive is 5 years. And state income grants, of course, it's well known investment incentive, which implies mainly land plot. Under the laws, it can be building in some techniques, some equipment, but in fact, it's always land plot, because the government just doesn't own a lot of property items available for investment projects. So, and state income grants, which is given for the period of investment project. And as to this project, I will show it further. There are no requirements for the investments volume. So in order to get these incentives, the investor should carry out project in prioritized business sector for the investment project, not for the investment priority project, and apply for the investment incentive. As to the investment priority project, it's the most attractive type of project, because all investment incentives are available under this project. And you see, it's only VAT-free import is unavailable under this, but instead, under this kind of project, an investor can get tax incentives or tax holidays. For example, under this project, an investor can fully deduct corporate income tax for the period of 10 years, fully deduct land tax for the period of 10 years, and property tax, also deduct property tax for the period of 8 years. On top of this, also investor can get duty-free import, a state income grant. The only the devil lies in details. In order to get these incentives, an investor should first of all have a required amount of investments in the amount of not less than 13,500,000. I told you before, so investors should be major for this project. And investors should prove that he's going to set up new production plants. And when we say new production facilities, new production plants, we mean plant, fabrics, and shop. And all these 3 words are specifically prescribed in the business code or entrepreneurial code. And also under this project, an investor can get investment subsidy. When we say investment subsidy, we mean cash back of cost associated with the purchase of equipment and with the construction works. And investment subsidy is available only for the setup of new production plants, or if we use terminology of OECD, for the greenfield investments. So for the greenfield investments, tax preference are available, duty-free import, state income grant, and investment subsidy. But as to the investment subsidy, in this case, the investment volume should be not less than nearly $32 million. And for the investment subsidy, we have a specific specific list of prioritized business sector. So when we open governmental decree number 13, so-called Bible, we have a list of prioritized business sector divided into 3 parts. First part is for the investment project, second part for the investment priority project, and the third one is for the investment subsidy. And under the investment priority project is divided into greenfield investments and brownfield investments. When we say brownfield investments, we mean expansion and renewal of existing production plant. So no this brownfield investments or expansion entails only tax holiday for corporate income tax and no land tax, no property tax, only tax holiday or corporate income tax for 3 years. And as to the special investment project, my apologies, because on the screen it's not shown in a full size, I see. And special investment project is a project dedicated for the specific categories of legal entities. It's members of special economic zones, it's entities which sign agreement with the Kazakhstani government on industrial assembly of motor vehicles, and for the owners of free custom zone stocks. I just can say that we're not working with a special investment project because this project is under the responsibility of another ministry, not Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Also, it's dedicated more not for potential investment project, but for the existing project of special categories of legal entities. And investment incentives are available only under the investment contract, which can be signed only with a legal entity of the Republic of Kazakhstan. No branch, no rep office, no foreign business entity, only registered legal entity of the Republic of Kazakhstan. And as to the special investment project, we can give free consulting on this, but any investor which is interested in this kind of project should go to the Ministry of Infrastructure and Industry. And under this project, duty-free import is available for the period of 15 years, as well as VAT-free import under the condition which are set out in the tax code. Next slide, please, Jamila. So as you see, I told you,
please, we have we have no time, please.
Okay, just few words. As I told you before, please see the criteria requirements. First of all, recipient should be legal entity. Investment amount is required for the investment priority project. And the investment priority project means greenfield investments and brownfield investments. And as to the brownfield investment, the investment volume should be much higher. It should be not less than $32 million. And as to the special investment project, no investments volume, no specific requirements, but in special investment project, you should be a specific category of legal entity. And as to the investment priority project, as you see, there are certain criteria requirements for the shareholding and for the funding. So there shouldn't be any state or quasi-state shareholding in the legal entity which applies for the investment incentive under investment priority project. And there shouldn't be any state budget funding. Also, this recipient shouldn't be a special economic zone member or an entity which carries out a public-private partnership agreement. And when we say no state shareholding, we mean no state shareholding, no quasi-state shareholding, like Kazakh Invest, Kazmunagas, and others. And the shareholding is allowed to the 26% for the first 5 years, but thereafter, such shareholders should resign from the members list. And just at the end, I just can show the last slide. Jamila, next slide, please. We can say that under the investment priority project, we have on top of all these investment purposes, we have one more attraction tool. It's foreign labor. It relates to foreign labor attraction. So the investor who signed investment contract with the government for the investment priority project are exempt from the requirement of foreign labor quote and from the requirement to get work permits for foreign labor force for the period of 1 year after commissioning. And it applies not only to the legal entity, I mean investor who signed the contract, but also to its subcontractor, contractor, and even service provider. And the last, I just can thank you for your attention. And last slide, Jamila, please. Just see the scheme, how to sign the investment contract. Just feel free to ask Kazakh Invest for free legal consulting, and just please keep in mind The application is filed through the Public Services Center, so-called, or through the e-license. It's just a special website e-license. And it's totally free and it's public service. And we're here just to help you, to listen to you, and just to anticipate your future needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alida. The last thematic area that we would like to cover during our webinar is related to visa and migration support for potential and current investors. So please welcome our manager, Mr. Hamza Almas, who will speak about the latest changes in the visa and migration regime. The floor is yours, Mr. Hamza.
Bonjour, madame and monsieur. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all at this webinar. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Almas Hamza. I'm a member of the Service Support and Aftercare Department. Today, I'll be presenting a visa and migration regime of Republic of Kazakhstan. I'm going to give you a general overview of this term and the latest updates on the situation. As you know, there has been severely going on COVID-19 pandemic, so Kazakhstan was not an exception. We were just inside in the middle of this everything. So there has been some changes, so I'm going to present you this as well. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So as I mentioned, I was going to give you just the most popular types of visa categories and which are applied by our partners and potential both and existing investors. So this is a business category type of visa which are B2 and B3. There is a specific type of visa category which is A5. It is investors visa. And we have a C3 business, so this is a work visa. So I'm going to stop at each one by one, as you can see on the slides. There B2, as I mentioned, it is a business visa, so it's given for specifically for those who are people who specialists who are arriving for installation, repair, and maintenance of equipment. Other than that, it's provided for the consulting and audit services. So there is, as you know, there is a multiple and single entry visa, which is from this category. There is a single entry. It is given for 90 days period. Of this 90 days period, the specialist who is coming here is able to stay, is allowed to stay 30 days. Speaking about the multiple business visa B2. It is given for half a year. It is 180 days, and of this half of year, 90 days can be stayed in here. And as a general note, the foreign institutions of Republic of Kazakhstan are giving this visa on the basis of invitation, whereas people who are applying in Kazakhstan are applying for Ministry of Internal Affairs on the basis of petition of the inviting party. So speaking about the B3 category, this is on my practice is one of the most applied category of the visa. So generally it is given for negotiation, people who are coming to negotiations, some kind of meetings and signing of the contracts. So this is general provision of this visa, the purpose of provision of this visa. So speaking about the multiple, this is one of the most demanded visa categories, as I mentioned. It's given for the negotiation, signing of the contracts within the field of cooperation of industrialization and investment. What is this? As we, Kazakh Invest, as other colleagues have mentioned, it's one-stop shop. So on the basis of petition of Kazakh Invest, this multiple business visa can be provided for our investors and potential investors. So as single and multiple entry visas, is speaking about the single entry business visa, it's the same as B2, but multiple entry visa is given for a longer term. it's after 1 year. Of this 1 year, you can stay in here 30 days. So, and the same goes to this B3 category. It's given on the basis of invitation on the foreign institution of Kazakhstan, and in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, it's given on the basis of petition. So, speaking about one of the most demanded by investors specifically who are planning to stay in Kazakhstan for the longer terms, it's A5, specific investors visa. So who is the receiver of this visa? It's investing heads and deputy heads and the heads of structural divisions carrying out investment activities in Kazakhstan. So these people who are working in the, as I said, investment activities of Kazakhstan, the special companies. And as of course, it's one of the advantages it's given to the members of their families. For example, one investor is coming to Kazakhstan, he can apply for the multiple investors visa. It's given to 3 years, and he can bring to his family. And you know there is and he doesn't have to worry about any issues regards to family, as his family members can also be granted this visa. Here is an important point that I would like to mention about this visa. It's A5 visa is given based on the petition of the investment state body, which is investment committee. It is it is the member of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it is based on this, given based on this petition. So last but not least, one of the most applied by the workers is labor C3 type of visa category. So it is given, as its name says, it's given for the labor activities and members of their families. So as the investor's visa, it's given for the same terms. So the most important thing here is that you have to, in order to get this visa category, the visa receiver should apply for the local state body to get the work permit. So moving on to the next slide, I would like to present the latest updates on the visa regime related to some changes, as I mentioned before, for the COVID-19 pandemic. So foreigners who are willing to stay and depart from the Republic of Kazakhstan, as you might probably have heard, government of Kazakhstan has granted some additional time for the people who were staying in Kazakhstan before the entrance of the emergency state situation. After the ending of the emergency state, government has additionally given extra 10. Excuse me.
Дариша, не кусайся. Со всех сторон.
Excuse me, could you switch off your microphones?
Can you please switch off your microphones? I was presenting, so it was interrupted. So if I may continue, so as I was saying, like 2 months there has been additional given after, if I'm not mistaken, 11th of July. This emergency state has been finished, has been over. So the government has given 2 additional months till 10th of July 2020. So what does this mean? People who were staying before the emergency state can extend their visas without any problem till 10th of July. So they will not be called any administrative liability for this. And they can apply for the specialists who were staying also, who just got stuck in here. For this period, they can apply for the work visa, and who were coming before with a visa waiver term. So, but here is an important point. After 11th of July, if people were not be able to legalize their stay, it will be some kind, there might be occur some problems. So it is just in general recommended to legalize your stay, and if you are going to exit from Kazakhstan just before this date, you can without any problem have your exit provided without any problem. As I was saying, then the restriction on entry to the Republic of Kazakhstan, moving on to the next block, we have just a unilateral visa-free regime with 57 countries, as you probably know, and France was inside of these 57 countries. So until and 72-hour visa-free regime we had with passengers who were coming with transit from China in India. But until 1st of November of 2020, this visa-free waiver and visa-free 72 hours has been lifted. And after the reopening on the state borders, people will require visas. And mentioning about the state service that is provided with governmental bodies. Currently, Department of Migration Service of Nur-Sultan City provides the following state services. They are issuance of temporary residence permits to foreign citizens, issuance of labor patents.
Хорошо. Вот так быстро спрошу. Подскажи, пожалуйста, у тебя нет случайно речи Бажана Бисекеновича, вот, который сейчас выступает на вебинаре, чтобы оттуда цитат, да, по-французски, чтобы цитату оттуда взять?
Можно, пожалуйста, отключить ваш микрофон?
Yes, okay. If I may continue. Issuance of temporary residence permits to foreign citizens, issuance of labor patents. This, as I was mentioning, the migration services that are provided by Department of Nur-Sultan City. Upon availability of grounds, it can also be, the visa terms can also be extended, and everybody can apply without, at the same time, there is no need to provide coronavirus infection certificate, absence of coronavirus infection certificate, of course. So provision of the following state service has been suspended. It's the, if I'm not mistaken, it's an invitation letter. It's probably, yes, it's exactly in the provision of invitation letters for the foreigners who are applying at the foreign institutions of the Republic of Kazakhstan. So this was a general overview of the visa and migration regime and latest updates that were provided due to the COVID-19 coronavirus infection disease pandemic. So moving on to the last slide, I would like to thank you for your attention. As though there has been some interruptions, I think you got all the messages. And here you can see my contact information. If you just if you have some concerns or some questions regards to it, you can just anytime you can refer to me, and I'll be glad to help you out with those any situations. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamza. Finally, let me ask you to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Ernazar Shinasil, Vice President of the GSC Kazakhstan Center of Public-Private Partnership. He kindly agreed to share his expertise in the area of public-private partnership and speak about the sources of cost recovery and investor protection and PPP organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Shin.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for having your time and attention and interest in investing in Kazakhstan. My name is Shinasil. Let me briefly explain how PPP projects are structured in Kazakhstan and which advantages will get the investors. Next slide, please. Let me start from the exclusive features of PPPs in Kazakhstan. The first feature is that all the relationships between the parties, between the public and private party, are based on signed PPP agreement. The second, the life of PPP projects from 3 to 30 years. The third, we expect in PPPs a joint participation of both partners in order to implement PPP project. And the last, we also expect that both partners will pool their resources in order to implement and prepare the PPP project. The next slide, please. This slide shows the basic differences of PPP projects in Kazakhstan and their types. The first, we divide the PPP projects on two ways to initiate them. The first way is the public initiative, where the government develops all the required tender and project documentation and announce the tender. The private partner will only bid for prepared tender. The second way is the private financial initiatives, where the private partner will develop all the required documents, which are like business plan, feasibility study, and so on, in order to initiate the project by himself. But in order to do so, he should comply to two conditions. The first condition is that project initiated based on the property owned by the private party. It's like land or some building and so on. And the second condition is the project initiated based on intellectual property owned by the private party. The next is the ways of implementation of PPP projects. The first is the institutional PPP. The second is contractual PPP. The difference is that in institutional PPPs, public and private partner will create a joint venture in order to implement PPP project. In contractual PPP, they will just sign a PPP agreement. We have 7 types of PPPs, contractual PPPs. It's a concession, as you know, trust management, leasing agreements, contracts for the development of technologies, life cycle contracts, and service contracts. Plus, we have the, if your project is not signed, is not aligned for those 7 projects, there are other contracts and agreements that meet the features of PPPs. And the last, we have 2 levels of PPP project. It's the republic and municipal level. The criteria on how to specify which level your project you have. It's by type of ownership, municipal, republical, or by the beneficiaries, like who will get the benefits of your project, 1 region or 2 or more. The next slide, please. Here's some statistics. Our new loan PPP was adopted in 2015. And from that period of time, today we have more than 751 signed PPP agreements, and half of them are PFI projects. Next slide, please. And now, why should you go for PPPs? The first is in PPPs, you can get a reimbursement of up to 100% of all your CapEx and OpExes. Plus, their availability payments, which means that you can get payments based on your performance. If you will do all your obligations well, you will get paid well too. Plus, the most important thing in PPPs that all the payments that will be agreed based on your PPP contract are not subject to sequestration, or budget sequestration. And the last, the government can provide you the land, can provide you guarantees, some guarantees, plus offtake contracts, availability payments, and so on. And the last slide, please. And now, how our organization can help you. The first, we can help you to identify potential PPP and investment projects. We can help you and advise on all the levels and stages on preparing implementation and development PPP projects. Plus, we can help you to negotiate in all stages with all the public authorities and help you to prepare all the tender announcements and so on. Thank you for your attention. If you have any further questions, I will share my contacts in the chat below. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shinasul. Ladies and gentlemen, as we finished with all the presentation, I'm pleased to announce the start of the Q&A session. Dear participants, as mentioned earlier, all the speakers are now ready to answer the question that you have written in the chat box, or you can ask them directly here. If any of you did not have a chance to post your question, you will still be able to ask him later in person. As you see on the screen, the first question was addressed to Ms. Aliya Salimjoarova by Mr. Gerard Fries. Okay, please. It was a question. Yeah, please.
Okay, Mr. Fry, thank you very much for your questions with regard to this CO2 emissions. Currently, and you are well aware that we had this CO2 emission trading system, and it was stopped in 2018, but we are still, as Kazakhstan, as the Republic of Kazakhstan, a part of Paris Agreement, and we have an obligation to decrease the emissions by 15%. At the same time, currently our legislation is under amendment, and actually the ecological code is under amendment, and we hope that this CO2 emission trading system will be announced soon. Nevertheless, in our current version of ecological code, we do have some kind of obligations. In accordance with this obligation, the companies who are currently operating in oil, gas, or energy field, they have an obligation to pay for some quotas in case the equipment emissions is higher than 20,000 tons of CO2 per year, and they should buy these quotas for CO2 emission. With regard, currently all these issues is set by Ministry of Ecology, and we hope that all this system will be built and will be transparent enough that we could actually give you more information on it. As soon as the ecological code will be approved, we will be ready to provide you with more detailed information on the issue. Thank you for your question once again.
Thank you, Alia. The next question was asked Mr. Gerard Fries about to Almas Hamza about work permit and visa for current expiration. Please, Mr. Hamza. Sorry.
Yes, excuse me, there has been mute. So I've seen your question. As you know, currently the state border is closed. So we have a special committee that is resolving all this situation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, and related to this, some kind of restriction that has been entered into force. So hopefully it's going to be resolved in the near time soon, and we'll keep you updated if you just keep interacting with us. I think there has been, maybe is there some kind of additional comments that you would like to make about this, or that's it actually from my side.
Thank you. Thank you. It was, the next question was asked Kuane Shamantai regarding PPP. Could you please introduce examples of implemented or PPP projects? Mr. Shinasil, could you answer?
Yeah, okay, of course. The one of the huge PPP projects signed by this year is the Turkestan International Airport. The private party is YDA International. It's a Turkish construction company. Regarding the other projects, please, Konish, I would like to ask you to call me. I will share you our database of all signed PPP projects.
Thank you, Mr. Shinasil. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions?
I think we have one more question from Mr. Murtaza. I think this question related to energy. Alia, could you please answer the question?
Sorry, which one? Could you please read it? Or I can't see it.
Current CO2 quotas will expire by the end of this year. So from 1st January 2021, what kind of methodology would be used for CO2? Will it be the historic method or the method of benchmarking?
Okay. As I've mentioned before, the ecological code is actually under amendment now, and we hope that it would be approved, let's say at the end of September or the beginning of October. And we hope that this CO2 mechanism will be formed finally, and we will have a clear understanding on the CO2 trading system. It could be a different mechanism, or it could be the mechanism as it is now, because currently the Ministry of Ecology has a big number, like very intense discussions, I would say, on this theme, and we hope that they will come to the conclusion on it. Anyway, as I said before, our country is a part of Paris Agreement, and this obligation will be anyway completed and met, and the legislation will be amended accordingly. Thank you very much for your question once again.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I have a question, Gerard Fries. I have a question for, I was interested, sorry, I was following 2 different meetings at the same time, so it's a little bit complicated. I was, of course, very much interested by the presentation on work permit. I am a current investor, so we are almost more than 25 years next year in Kazakhstan, and we have about 15 expatriates. And at the moment, we are only 3 present in Kazakhstan, so with no problem. But our French colleagues are like almost everyone who has left in the country. There is no possibility to renew the work permit. The migration authority have not agreed to process any work permit for anyone who is outside the country. And even if we have people leaving, which happen regularly, we cannot even start the process of work permit for newcomers. So this is really an embarrassing situation because it will disturb dramatically our activity. And in relation to that, in fact, to prolong the question, myself, I am now in Kazakhstan. If I want even to go abroad, I can leave the country, but there is absolutely no visibility when the borders will be reopened for foreigners to enter the country. So as you, as a body which is supposed to attract investors, no one can visit Kazakhstan. So it is a little bit complicated. So do you have any insight when this situation can be changed?
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. Sorry?
Please, please.
Yes, thank you very much for your question, Mr. Gerard. As I was replying beforehand, so of course with this pandemic, you never know, you know, the whole world is waiting, and everybody is waiting just what will happen next. So firstly, about your comment, work permit is not done by migration service. It's, as I mentioned in the presentation, it is given by the state local authorities. So to say, akimats are granting this work permit. And coming to the exact question, it's nobody knows for now. We are waiting ourselves for it to be resolved. And as I was previously replying to your question, it was a committee. There is a committee of under the Vice Prime Minister, Mr. Yerалы Tugzhanov. He's everybody who is interested to attracting some kind of labor force. They are going to apply to this committee, and this committee is going to revise it. And after revision, in if I'm not mistaken, 1 or 2 weeks at most, they are giving decision, they, so to say, their resolution on the matters of about to attract, and they are going to hand out the protocol if those attracted people are going to be in this protocol. So it's going to be become out as a positive sign for attraction. However, about the border reopening, next question that you were asking, it's as I said, mentioned, it's not 100% sure. However, there was an unofficial information that it's going to reopen 1st of July. As of 1st of July, we are waiting and we are hopeful for it to be reopened. I think I pretty much answered your question. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hamza. Any other questions?
I think I have one more question. So this question related to the competition for investment between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So this question was addressed to all our team. And I think the best answer to this question, my colleagues Alida and Anara can answer to these questions. Alida, please. Alida? Oh, Anara, you can start to answer this question, and maybe Alida will join you.
Да, я слушаю. Жамиля, кто лучше? Анара, Уай?
Я думаю, там по legal consultation, Alida, please.
I know it's very actual and live issue at the moment. So comparison of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan in context of investments promotion and investment facilitation. And I definitely, I'm alleging that we are starting the process of investment promotion in Uzbekistan and pretty aware how, what tremendous progress they're making in this sphere. And what we're using in, what we're doing at this stage. In fact, that we compare the process of investment promotion, and we can say that Uzbekistan is so-called Kazakhstan 10 or 15 years ago. We were also very open at that time. We had a foreign investments law, and we had different support tools. And in this case, we are just accepting some new trends of Uzbekistan investment promotion process, but I cannot say that Kazakhstan is staying behind. I think we just passed the first two steps of investment promotion, and we are just at the third stage, and they're just starting to race in this context because they had a new president. They just got new president a few years ago, and they are opening their market, and they're amending their legislation, and they have a special room of president which is always open for investors. But we cannot say that we're at the same stage. We're on the same stage. We are not staying behind. We're just went further, and we're not competing. I think we are just emphasizing our benefits, our advantages, and we're improving Kazakhstani legislation, and we're doing our best to improve and keep the favorable investment climate. But I cannot say that we're, again, we're just working. I think we're moving forward in different directions, but we're not staying behind.
Слышно, да? Actually, from the countryside, as Alida, the colleague of mine, have said earlier, yes, we are not competing. The Uzbekistan, as other bordering countries, are the friendly neighbor of ours. So when we do, I mean, on a political arena, we respect their strategy. And I think that each country has the right to work on its maximum force to invest in each country. So we in Kazakhstan, we are having mutual enterprises like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. So I think that there is also I mean, some action should be paid on a One Belt road, the Silk Road, and I think I mean Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, as China and Russia is working, I mean is putting its side to this mutual I mean role of on investment arena. So actually Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan has its own preferences, and but I think our colleague as service support department has highlighted the advantageous position of Kazakhstan. And I think if you need some, I mean, deeper, detailed consultation on advantages of Kazakhstan preferences, please come to our colleagues and we will negotiate.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more points to raise? If not,
yeah, just one quick question, because again, sorry, I don't want to attract too much attention, but I wrote it by on the site about the green tariff.
Introduce yourself. Which company you?
So I'm Gérard Friès, CATCO General Director. Sorry, Mr. Matayev. I saw the presentation on the electricity approach. I heard the answer about the ETS schemes that might be put in place, but what about for end users, the ability to buy green certificate if I have next to my facility wind power or solar power or another type of electricity? Are there any planned schemes in order for the end user to be able to buy green energy through green certificates? How it will work? Is the scheme in place or not? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Price, thank you very much for your additional question. With regard to the renewable energy sources, if I understood you right, you mean that you want to buy the clear the energy which is produced by renewable energy sources. Currently, we have the Financial Settlement Center, who actually makes a mixture of energy. He is a single buyer. He buys all the electricity all around the country. And the highest part or the highest portion is electricity generated by the thermal power plants, but with a lower tariff. With regard to renewable energy sources, as far as you know, we have a higher tariff value for the end consumers. So to make it let's say, less addictive or less impact to the end consumers, yes, we just gather all the electricity generated from all the power plants and make the average tariff for the consumers. At the same time, in case currently, due to the situation with the COVID-19, we also started to support the small enterprises in their incentives to buy or produce the electricity generated from the renewable energy sources. Currently, just in April, we announced together with UNDP the program to support the small enterprises, to support their incentives to produce the energy from renewable energy sources. With regard to the renewable energy sources, to buy it just as an end consumer from one point, you can, of course, for instance, if you have the generating equipment, you can produce your own energy from renewable energy facilities for your own consumption. Then it will be just your own produced from the renewable energy facility. But in case you want to buy it from the national grid or regional grid, then there is no scheme that you just buy totally renewable energy you buy the mixture, and you as an end consumer buy the mixture from the single buyer who is a financial settlement center. Hope I answered your question. In case you have some doubts, please write me an email and I will try to answer your question.
Thank you
so
very much.
Thank you, Alia. Do you have any other questions? If not, let me please give the floor to Mr. Gerard Fries, the President of Chamber of Commerce and Trade of France.
So it's me again. Sorry, Mr. Matayev. Sorry, I was listening to the various presentations, and they were very high quality. So first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers because it was a very good opportunity. And I am sure that on behalf of all the participants, I saw that we had almost more than 40 participants from the various, so of course from Kazakh Invest side, but also from all the companies, members of the Chamber of Commerce. It was a very good opportunity to share, and I saw very briefly scrolling through the various questions, and I want to call you, and I will call you, or I will write you an email afterwards. So it means that this webinar was really a very good opportunity for a networking, an opportunity for companies to have more insight on opportunities in Kazakhstan. So once again, I would like to thank you. I saw from Asiem, who has been, I would say, moderating the webinar from a technical point of view, that we will receive all the presentations, that they will be shared. And I hope that there will be a future opportunity when this situation of social distancing will end, that perhaps we can organize a face-to-face meeting either in Almaty or in Nur Sultan, in order that probably people will be able to meet again. And I look forward to that, of course. We are, of course, on our side promoting French companies to come to Kazakhstan. As I explained, my company is working more than 25 years. We'll celebrate 25 years next year. So there are a lot of French companies working for a long time in Kazakhstan. And I hope that there will be much more based on the project that you have shown. And we'll do our job on our side to promote as well to French companies. So thank you very much, Mr. Matayev, all your colleagues for all your very interesting presentation. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Guys. Again, thank you very much for all our professional speakers, and thank you, Chamber of Commerce and Trade of France, for giving us opportunity to present our company, our presentations, and for your time and expertise, useful suggestions, and interesting questions. We hope you enjoyed the program and that information was useful and productive for you. If for some reason you require some further clarification or need some additional info, please feel free to contact us. We can see our contact details or in our website, or some of our colleagues, it was here in the chats. We look forward to your participation in our future events. Kazakh Invest always happy to help you, so please do not hesitate to contact us. Goodbye. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Goodbye.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Feel free just to contact us.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.